Listen and subscribe to the Table of Truth on iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, and Google Podcasts.
Wow.
That's my shit. That's my shit right there.
If I do the episode wouldn't get taken down, I would use that as an intro for today. And with that laughter, we have Blerdlines. Welcome, everybody. It's your man Cam. With me, as always, is...
This is Josh, a.k.a. the black guy in every movie that dies well before the third act.
As well as...
And this is D, the professor, and I work for the House of Zion.
Oh, man.
And we are back talking some news. Took a little breaks. Life stuff's happening. It's pretty outside. It's all sunny, clouds in New York. In the less clouds these days. Although today was pretty crappy. But yeah, man, it's fun. I think. How you guys doing?
Every day above ground is a great day, Cam.
I concur.
Peace and blessing to the gods and the earth.
The sun, the moon, and the earth, God. I mean,
yeah, I think we're talking because a couple of our shows that just ended, and now we're like picking up new stuff. And so everyone's been talking about The Boys recently. And truth be told, I have not watched the season. I have read the books and all of it is there, but one of the things I do like about the show compared to the books is they give all the actual quote unquote heroes a little bit more depth. So whether it's make them really, really villainy or where it gives them some type of a backstory where it feels like not too like one dimensional. But the one cool thing I've been reading about, even though I haven't watched the season, is all the hoopla around people not realizing that Homelander is a bad guy. And so
I didn't realize that was a thing.
Yeah, so per Forbes, they're basically saying how a lot of people were looking at, The Boys is a straight up parody of like all superheroes. Garth Ennis, is that right? Yeah.
Yeah,
Sure.
Garth Ennis, yes.
He left Marvel and he left DC with a very sour taste in his mouth, and he immediately wrote The Boys, which is a lampoon and parody of literally both of them. So every stereotype and trope that he could think of, he can pull from any one of the two. He just threw them in there and with hilarious precision.
Yeah, he pretty much just eviscerates the entire idea of a superhero, let alone any individual groups or iconic comic characters that exist. And if you ever saw The Boys, it's not hard to identify who's being kind of torn apart or who's being parodied.
Yeah, definitely. And then now I think, in the books, he was like, you could tell he's pretty angry. And it's like pretty, what is it, NC-17 now? Rated M, R, whatever? I don't know what the most graphic one you can have. It's pretty much what that is.
Yeah, it's whatever allows you. It's the one right before XXX.
Yeah.
It's just
basically
like that.
But what's interesting, though, too, was, they're lampooning a lot of the, superhero tropes, but then they're also parodying a lot of the politics that's currently going on. So, Homelander is, a parody of Superman, but he's, like, literally saying Donald Trump words.
Right.
And people are looking at it, and so what people were finding was, and the showrunners were finding as well, is they were having a rise of alt-right fans to the show, identifying with the villains of the characters. Stormfront, who's basically a Nazi, Homelander, and then even Blue Hawk is the cop guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so they were identifying with all three of these like villains, but they're like waiting for them to have like their like, arc that turns them back to justice, and that's not going to happen.
Yeah, they're waiting on their redemptive arc.
Yeah.
Well, a few of them have already hit moral event
Where they end up being the hero.
Yeah, exactly. Everybody accepts them again, and they forget all about all those terrible things. Those terrible things.
I had no idea. That is so satisfying to hear suddenly.
Terrible. Yeah, I didn't know. Like Josh said, I had no idea that was actually a thing in the ether and existence on the internet.
They had the
community until I saw the subreddit that you sent, the Reddit article that you sent that apparently outlined all of this this whole phenomenon of people surprised that Homelander is the primary antagonist, aka the main villain of the boys.
Yeah.
And so are they like filling out petitions, as everyone seems to do these days when they have a gripe?
Probably, actually. I mean, they had to close down the part of the Reddit, the subthread, because of all the
Really
crazy. Yeah.
And you know what makes it worse is that he has a cape that's the American flag.
What makes it better? It doesn't make it worse. It's amazing.
I mean, it makes it worse for them. Like, they don't like the idea that the villain has the American flag as his signature.
That comedy. Oh, man.
The irony is just fat. But see, again, as I said off air and off the recording, I'll say it here. It's just a sad thing that those people just didn't learn to read at some point, or they gave up on it. Because honestly, these are the kinds of things that if you have engaged fiction, you're like, okay, I see the parallels, but Homelander is still Homelander that exists in the world separate from our world. So, of course you see those parallels. Of course they're there. But at the same time, you can't engage the fiction without getting riled up over the fact that you can. Obviously, Donald Trump can't fly or shoot lasers out his eyes.
No, he can.
Well,
he
can
when he's asleep from 8 at night to 6 in the morning. He can fly and shoot lasers out his eyes, and he's the strongest in the world. He defeats all his enemies in a millisecond. He goes back in time and sets everything right. He's all those things from that window of 8 at night to 6 in the morning.
Yeah. But yeah, I think just that part alone. But everyone has been watching it, keeping up to it. They love the series and all that kind of stuff, which makes perfect sense. I think it's come at a great time where people are starting to get that superhero fatigue. So anything that kind of sends up that will help it. It's kind of the reason why people are really latching on to Invincible. And so they did a good job of doing this one thing. And then they're going to follow it up with a teen-censored spin-off series.
Yeah.
Basically kind of like almost like a Teen Titans, Young Justice type of, like the kids funneling into to the 7.
Which should be hilarious.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it should be good.
It's like John Hughes movie, but the boys.
Right. Exactly. Yeah, no, The Boys this season has been pretty good. Very still entertaining. I think, like you said, I haven't read the comic book, but I get the sense that Eric Kripke, the show creator, the main writer, understood all that about the tone of the comic book, and sort of pivoted to a different way. So in other words, he saw it and said, I feel your anger, Garth, but I'm not in that same boat of anger. So I'm going to take what you built and funnel another kind of frustration in there, which is, I think, why you get so many parallels between what's happening in society, because that kind of expresses that. And one of the things that I think is great about The Boys is that it's not preachy with these things. It just kind of allows them to kind of take place and the characters live their lives. And, there's not these moments of
moralizing.
Moralizing, exactly. Thank you.
Like, you're bad, you're good.
Exactly. It's like, no, they're all human. And in fact, this was expressed recently when I think Butcher was saying something along the lines of, he's telling May, he's like, y'all gotta go, man. He's like, you just all gotta go. He's like, you.
And he says it with such like he delivers that line with a high degree because he's actually come to like her. Yeah.
Exactly. And that's what's great about the series, that it digs deep into the humanity behind what would it be like if other humans had godlike powers walking around with humans who don't have those powers.
That's dope.
Yeah, it's a good sort of parody of the comic book trope. You know, the goody good and the baddie bad. Like, it really delves into it's kind of like Kick-Ass. Like, if there were really heroes, if there were really like good Samaritans and heroes, what would they really be like? It's a different take on like it's an expanded take on that thought process. And Superman might be that guy. He might be Homelander.
Yeah, well, there's obviously a flip of the coin.
Say again?
I said that's the flip of the coin that I think the boys try strongly to suggest. Is like, just because these individuals have powers and have been given this responsibility as heroes and champions does not mean that they're going to live up to those virtues. And as we see in the story, they quite often don't. They fail miserably at it. In fact, the first scene of the first episode was an example of that when A-Train, I shouldn't laugh, but A-Train runs through Huey's girlfriend.
And
runs over her, and like that's and really couldn't and didn't say anything, but my bad, and just kept going.
Like, whoops, I gotta go.
Yeah, exactly. I gotta go. So it's like that's the really good nuance of the boys that I enjoy, and they just each season they're continuing to do more with these characters than I think I would imagine was done in the comic books.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, they turned it up. The books for sure.
Yeah, because the books are good, but they definitely focus more on the boys and the fact that being superheroes is silly, like they shouldn't exist, basically.
Right.
So that's the singular thread to the whole thing.
How closely is it following the books? I don't remember.
The first season was pretty on point. Like they took a few things here and there. Took out a lot of the sex actually, but they left all the gore and the bad language, and then they kind of humanized the boys as well, and so you get a little bit more. I think the TV show I think rounds out all the characters better, and so like in the book, the Homelander's bad, period, and he's a dick basically. And
he's dead.
No, he's a dick. Sorry.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but he's like pretty one note through pretty much the whole thing. And even when the big reveal happens, what they actually changed in the story in the TV series, yeah, there's like one of the big twists in the book. They actually did something earlier to change that, so it's not going to be that anymore, which I thought was actually pretty smart.
Yeah, I think that was a smart change as well, and actually, kind of a segue is that change was significant by way of narratively what it signifies in the boy society, which is, again, I don't want to spoil it, so I won't say what it is, but I think that was a good progression of the kind of talks about race and how they're handling that in the world of the boys. Now you have A-Train, who's kind of realized after the whole Stormfront situation that he's really not there because he's respected or they want him there, but he's there as a kind of way to stave off any criticism that all the seven is all white.
Yeah,
the word you're looking for is token, sir.
That was the word I missed.
And I think that's the one thing I would say that the boys in this TV show do better. Like their changes of gender and race to the show actually adds to the show as opposed to just being superfluous. Superfluous?
Yeah.
Superfluous.
Just changing because they change it, they do.
Yeah. So, like for instance, like A-Train in the books is white, and he's pretty much a one-note character. They don't really do much depth with him. He's there for shits and giggles. Same with the Deep. Like besides the lampooning, the character that he's supposed to be lampooning, there's a couple like fishy jokes in there, but there's nothing really deep about it.
Right.
Quote unquote. And then also it's like Stormfront. Stormfront in the book is a dude. So he's a big Nazi guy, which is like boring. But he's, serves his purpose. Where in the show, they by just by making him that character a woman, flips the whole thing on its head.
Yeah.
And so, then it fleshes out a little bit more. So I think that to me, the show does a good job of just being like, okay, you're right. This is the source material. I'm not exactly in that pace, but where we're at right now, we can kind of tweak some things so that it can make it more relevant. Plus, actually have some depth. So, and then also I was reading up on how they're taking cues from Feige early days and how he expanded the universe without making it silly, not making it dumb, and that kind of thing. So kind of like being purposeful with spinoffs as opposed to just like, Star Warsing it, where you just do whatever you want.
Right.
And so, and then, and speaking of sequels, Jon Snow has his show coming out, guys.
You don't say.
Wait a second, and this has been confirmed. They actually,
you know what? It has because the first time I saw it was on the dumb sites, and then I had to wait till the real one said something about it because that's how we work these days.
Yeah,
right.
I do not like. I laugh because I was like, once again, I shouldn't say this, but they should never gave niggas Photoshop.
So it has been confirmed, and Kit Harington is attached.
Yes,
he is.
See, at first, my initial as a person that's read all of the Song of Ice and Fire,
this is also why I brought it.
Call it correctly. Someone who has read it several times.
I have read it several times, so I am pretty well versed in that world. I might.
So tell him why you mad.
Talk to him, Professor. Talk to him.
So, I get what they're trying to do, but I don't know. I think at first when I thought about it, I was like, I don't even see how George R.R. Martin would. I guess it doesn't matter anymore since they own the rights for the TV series, but I don't see how he would look at that and be like, oh, that's a good idea. But I think the positive part of since they're doing it is that they get an opportunity to do a new story that is free of any of George R.R. Martin's machinations. That Jon Snow is not the same Jon Snow in the book anymore. Like that's
right.
We're past that part.
Yeah.
So
which I think could be a good thing. Like, that's what I'm like. I'm not like. I'm more just groaning because like we don't need it. I think that's the thing. Like we're getting a lot of sequels that we don't need. They're just like, hey, you guys want this? We're like, not really, but I guess I'll watch it because you're gonna show it to me. But and I like Jon Snow. Everyone likes Jon Snow,
of course.
But do I need to see a six episode spinoff of him?
You don't. You know that you don't.
I'd rather go see freaking psychotic Arya freaking slicing up people and wearing their faces.
What's sad is we're gonna watch anyway.
Yeah, of course we are. They know it. We're
right,
so deep
and that's the thing.
That's
like it's inevitable that most likely they're gonna get some of the old people back who their characters had unresolved arcs. Basically, Arya, Sansa, how does she fare? How does Bran fare as king? So even if they don't have any scenes, there's obviously going to be talk in the world about what's going on with those characters. So I think it can work. I think I would much rather see them. For me, the Jon Snow is similar to how I feel about Skywalker in that the Star Wars, which is we've told that story, it's done. Let's go to some other part of this massive world. So that's why I love the idea of House of the Dragon, because again, we saw how Daenerys was, and she's not the last Targaryen, but in my mind, she's the last Targaryen. And you saw how that ended for her. So House of Dragon draws interest in that this is a moment in their history where the Targaryens are at the top peak of their power in Westeros. So that's totally different than Game of Thrones, because at Game of Thrones, they were at the end, their dynasty had been smashed at the beginning of the show. And at the end of the show series, Daenerys had put it back together, but then it fell right back into ruin. So that is more interesting than finding out what Jon Snow does beyond the wall. At the watch. No, I just don't. I'm not interested in it, but it can work since they're doing it. It could be interesting.
Yep.
Good surprise, but I doubt it.
Yeah.
A prediction. At some point, Jon is going to be like, I have to go back. There's nothing happening beyond the wall that could contain an entire story that I think is worth telling if he doesn't go back at some point.
I agree. And that's the problem, because now you're venturing into Hollywood kind of storytelling. So then it's going to be weird even for the audience to see this type of storytelling with this character, like in this world. It's not gonna. That's the reason why I keep coming. You are exactly right, Josh. Like that's what I keep coming back to, and I'm just like, the world is too as dense as it is. It's too tightly.
Yeah, and I'd rather, like I said, I'd rather see Arya, who's going off to a foreign land by herself.
That would be amazing.
That would be interesting because she's going to an area that even in his books is unexplored. So again, there you go.
Yep, you have new chances for story. She's already a psychopath now, officially full-fledged. So it would have been super interesting.
He's in Westeros. So nobody cares.
Now, things that are coming up besides Jon Snow, we also have Jordan Peele's latest Note, which is about to come through. Woo-hoo. And that comes out. Is it next month or is it at the end of the month?
I think it's the end of the month. So it may be 2 weeks from now. Great promos, trailers. I mean, they always are. Dude, the sound design that just gets me every time.
We need to have Oscars for trailers because some of these dudes make it magic and like I tell everyone, my favorite trailer probably of all time is with The Secret Life of Walter Mitty. Like I watched it and I was like, yo, that thing was inspiring. And then I watched the movie, I was like, I mean, all right.
Yeah, and there's a lot of
You got me.
Heck yeah, man.
But I think it's gonna be interesting because I think Peele's had a nice little run. Like even things that kind of did hiccups, like Us, didn't hit as hard as Get Out, but it still did numbers, and it was like people like enjoyed it, people watched it, and I think that by putting on the director that's gonna be doing the Marvels for Candyman.
Oh, Nia DaCosta.
Yep. And putting on other people too, that shows again that he's not just trying to be like, okay, I won my Oscar, I'm just gonna I'm gonna Tyler Perry it, basically. So I like that he's like starting to produce other people's stuff, put on other folks that are also dope to kind of give them that platform. Because I didn't watch Candyman, but I heard mixed but good on the good side of reviews. I'm
gonna go with the good side because I actually just recently rewatched Candyman. And again, I think maybe not as a horror film that people expect, the jump scares and all that stuff, but as a solid metaphor of the horror that African Americans generationally have experienced, and then to have a kind of narrative and fictionalized solution to flipping that myth was a creative way to tell that story. And so I think that is what Peele is kind of doing for a lot of writers, is like saying, listen, it doesn't have to be the straightforward, this happens narrative. It can be it can use Black people to tell a large scale, very, very, very great story. I draw to that final sequence of Candyman, and I always talk about it because it is so excellent. The animation of the credits where they show all of the Black men and some women who've been murdered over from Daniel Robitaille, fictional, in the 1800s, I believe, to the character in the film. All those individuals. So I'm looking forward to Nope because I think Peele is doing what is not being done that much right now, which is really stamping out himself as an auteur and not just an auteur who can make smart cinema, but also a producer who understands how to get the audience into the megaplex, the cinema as the entertainment experience as well. And I think that's what those trailers have really helped signifies, like, yes, this is going to be a little bit make you think, but it's also going to be a little bit, you can sit enjoy the popcorn and be thrilled.
Yeah, I think that's the part I think is like super interesting because I'm like, I really enjoy like his kind of like trajectory that he's been doing, and also how he's like, like you say, he still always comes back to the storytelling aspect of things, and like really encouraging writers to tell the stories you're not seeing on the screen. And so I think that's the part that's going to be like super, super dope. So, Juneteenth just passed, made us feel good about ourselves and what's going on. Now we go to the dumb stuff called What If Miles Morales Was Thor?
Sing it, Josh. Sing it, Josh.
Oh, joy.
I'm kidding. So if you haven't heard, there's a book called What If Miles Morales? And so the crux of the story basically is it's a kind of like a metaverse kind of a thing. If you know what if is, what if is like taking a character, giving it a different spin on whatever it used to be. And so in this particular miniseries, Miles is hopping through dimensions, and each dimension, Miles Morales is a different Marvel character. So in the first one, he was Black Captain America. I shouldn't say Black Captain America. He was Captain America. The next time after that, I think he was like Wolverine or something silly like that. I forgot the other one he was. And so this new one, he's basically he's going to be Thor. And
Hood Thor.
Hood Thor, as named him. But Black Twitter hasn't happened because they're saying he is they're just basically doing more stereotypes and whatnot. Unfortunately, it's one of those things where I'm like, I was reading up more on it, and it is kind of a Black Twitter, Reddit type thing where people are like up in arms, like the large masses are kind of just like, huh, what happened?
So you're responding negatively to the character, to that anthology,
the characterization.
Yeah, of the characterization. I think it's more like, by making him quote unquote hood, as they say. And again, I laugh because when things like this happen, people usually respond to an image, right? So the image, the artist draws, gets the brief. He draws what he feels that's cool. Everyone signs off on it, and it gets colored, inked, and all that good stuff. So then, when there's always a controversy, I always notice that everyone's like, "Oh, this image is so bad," so then they automatically attack the writer first, and then the artist. Sometimes depends on what it is. I think when there's quote unquote sexy Riri image was floating around. And that was just J. Scott Campbell drawing J. Scott Campbell. And they're like, why did you make her lighter? Why is she skinny now? She doesn't have her lips anymore. And like, hey, you guys realize this is comics and different artists have different interpretations? Like, it's such a weird thing when Black culture merges into geek culture without having the previous knowledge of said geek culture.
Yeah.
I mean, J. Scott Williams is like a legend, a living, walking, breathing legend. And like you don't go after him, like you just don't, like. And I feel like you put it perfectly. There's no context, and so it's just I see the thing and I'm up in arms about it, as opposed to I see the thing. What's this about? Why is this here? Who's doing it? What's the premise? Nobody cares about any of those things. Mm-hmm. Nobody cares about any of that stuff, and it meanders off into its own thing, usually on Twitter, usually by people who have no idea what the thing is. On the other hand, it does feel a little ill-conceived that you have Miles Morales as Thor walking through the hood of Asgard. Because I think the thing
that's what it is. It's
one
the hood of Asgard.
It's one thing to
before you get that point.
It's one thing to make Miles Morales Thor.
Yeah.
Right? It's another thing entirely to have the caption and thought bubbles read that he's walking through the hood of Asgard. That's just ill-conceived. I think that's where people take issue. I think that's where people have problems with it.
Yeah.
People, because it's silly.
That's ridiculous.
You did not need to do that.
Yeah. I didn't know that. I thought it was just, that's why I was curious as to why people were, whether or not you were saying people were upset.
Yeah, making him Thor is one thing, but making him Thor and him being in the hood of Asgard is just...
Yeah, and I think this is the part where we can kind of blame the writer part, right? So for instance, I'm showing you guys a page real quick, and the dialogue for our young Thor Miles says he hits a frost giant and he says, "Ain't no party, hits him again, like an Asgard party, hits him again, because an Asgard party don't quit, hits him again, light it up."
God, jeez.
And this is where it's one thing if you just made him Thor.
Yeah,
It's another thing if you made him Thor and he's young Miles, and he does what he talks like Miles talks, and okay, fine. He's a kid. He's a kid from around the way, so there might be a a light version of that, but
right. But that's a caricature, though. That's caricaturizing the character and the whole premise. Like, now you can't be taken serious because it's not whatever you had in mind. Is just insulting.
Yeah. And so then it gets to a point where, again, I think making Miles Thor would have been interesting. But then, like you said, making him Hood Thor, that's when it gets silly, right? So by Odin's Fade, or of all the 5 realms, Asgard is his hood.
Wait, whoa. He seriously said by Odin's Fade? You're lying to me.
That might be my new catchphrase.
Wait, is that real? Is that real? Is that real? Did he really say that? By Odin's Fade?
You need to answer that question, Cam. Did he really say that?
According to Reddit, it's true. I should double check to make sure.
Okay, yeah.
Well, we'll put a pin in that and double, because I need to know that, because
we'll come back around to that.
This is wow. Who is that writer? What was
now? But see, to me, I would say what's the editor? What editor was like? That was cool.
I was just about to say that. It's all Sapolsky.
Yeah.
Because
all the head man, like he's the one who signed off on it. He's the one who allowed it to go through. That's just terrible. You can't have looked at that and gone, "That's hip. The kids are gonna really dig that." Like,
or that the Black community, who's largely supported all of what Marvel has done with Miles,
absolutely,
up until this point, would believe that would be the Black and Spanish community, like the Black and Hispanic community, he represents both of those, and he's important to both of those groups. And so I think up until now you didn't, and just New York subculture in general, like just that community wide, like that is sacred to a lot of people. And I think
I think I have a feeling I see what the writer is trying to do, because basically Asgard basically is in Brooklyn now for whatever reason, and that
convoluted silly stuff.
Yeah, exactly. And so I think that's they're basically trying to smash Brooklyn and Asgard together, and therefore making it. So then therefore you have African American vernacular mixed in with Odin speak.
With Odin speak.
Yep.
Ill-conceived. Ill-conceived is the word I would use.
It's kind of lazy too, because it's just like, really, what are you doing there that I'm supposed to take away that is worth this journey? Because I think that's a big question.
Being inclusive. Marvel is being inclusive, D'Angelo Williams.
I've seen what that looks like, and I ain't buying it. Not from Marvel. The Marvel Disney, they waited until after Wonder Woman was released to then give Black Widow her own movie.
Yeah. Also,
after the character was killed, I know what kind of diversity they selling.
Well, and also too, I can confirm that he does say Hammer Time in the comic. And
yes, he does.
And Millionaire Comes, which is all tagged up, by the way, as well. To put an extra little nugget on that one.
Yes.
So, they really thought this was actually going to be a good thing. I think they really were like, okay, we're using Miles' world. We're going to stick them into Asgard. Everyone, the Warriors 3 is Genki, and whatever his roommate, and
really,
I forgot the other one. Yeah. So and unfortunately the Frost Giants all look like basically thugs. Kind of.
Where is Gore when you need him? Where is Gore when you need him? Just have him wipe the whole book out.
Marvel will always have a place in my heart as a comic book reader, but that's just stupid. Like it's lazy. It's all the things that we've said. Like it's ill-conceived. It's stupid. It's lazy. It's just
convoluted, because that's
convoluted is all in my mind.
Like, when you have Frost Giants that have fades and gold chains, what is the man to do? What am I? What? How do we get it, guys?
This hovers, if it doesn't descend directly into it, this hovers on being racist. I've never uttered those words about anything Marvel has done in my entire 49 years of life. I never thought I would say that.
Well, I can't believe that, Josh, because this wouldn't be the first thing.
It's not the first time, but I think it's the first time I've actually acknowledged, like, fully, wholly, in present day. Let me preface it with that. I don't think I've, in present day, ever uttered the words "Marvel did something racist,"
and that's fair. And you're right. This is borderline, if not, because I don't have any reservation to calling it. It is.
Yeah, neither do I.
Maybe unintentionally. And you know what? Just going back to look at that, goes that to the previous slide. That frost giant had a fade and parts in a certain way in his hair.
Yeah. Again, I think the artist is not bad, but then now we have
exception, brother.
And then we have a frost giant with chains on.
He got a gold chain, man.
Yo, what is going on here?
And rings. And like the whole thing.
Yeah. This is racist. Out and out. Just I can't call it nothing else.
Oh man. Jeez. It's not. I'm trying to look for it by the fade of Odin, or the Odin fade. I gotta find that, dude.
No.
Oh, he really said flip it and revert. Oh
no!
Look at the top left corner, fellas. Oh, we have the pages up because we're just kind of curious and we're kind of going through it.
Flip it and reverse it. I am ashamed.
Damn,
thoroughly.
I didn't think it was gonna be this bad. I thought, I was like, I like the artist's interpretation, but no, it's bad, dude. It's bad. It's all his dialogue is basically from rap songs. Yo.
Man, he wearing what is he wearing? Are those
Jordans?
Yeah.
Okay. Cebulski, so like
on the right after we just had Juneteenth.
Does he? I mean, is this? So the question then comes: is this worth him losing his job over? Like, is this enough? Is this that bad a judgment call as an editor in chief that you let this out of the barn, signed off on it, rubber stamped it? You had to read it, or at least glance at it.
Getting exposed that he didn't read it, because either one of those two scenarios you just pointed out don't fly. Either he 100%. Didn't read this, or he did, and then it's just as bad.
Like, I'm comfortable calling for his job.
Yikes!
I'm very comfortable calling for his job.
Yikes!
I think I was kind of like, okay, this is just a bad call. With the one panel that everybody has seen where he's strolling through Asgard, some what up everybody. But you're showing me more, like I'm seeing more now and seeing some of the dialogue. And I'm comfortable calling for his head.
Like, I actually like the art, but the
art's great. The art's great, but
Miles look dope as Thor. It's just when they put them thought bubbles up, it's like,
this is the panel that everybody's seen, D'Angelo.
Yeah, it's the one.
With him walking through Hood Asgard and being loved and worshipped by everyone.
Complete with the sneakers
hanging from the electrical
wire.
Yes,
100%. Of all the 5 realms, Asgard is his hood. For Miles, you can see he's just that good.
What is this, the freestyle and
yes. This is what got me. This is what I saw.
The Rainbow Bridge takes him to his quest. The Bifrost line goes north, south, east, and west.
So the Bifrost is a train line. Yeah, I am comfortable. I am like, this could put people off of Marvel. Like, why would you?
So I stand corrected.
Hold on. This begs another question. Are there Black people in the chain before this gets to the editor in chief? The answer is no, because
personal
someone would have pointed
I would
this out.
say no.
Absolutely not. There's no way that there's anybody black in the chain of command between the writer and the editor in chief. There's no way. There's no way that you have someone black in the chain of command that sees this and says, "This is cool. Go ahead and just pass it on."
Couldn't have. And you know what? It stinks of hubris. That's what it is.
Absolutely.
It's just complete hubris on the part of Marvel. They thought that they could get away with this, and that's what it is. Because it's a what if. So this is complete hubris. That's all this is.
It absolutely is. I agree.
I don't even think it's straightforward racism. I think it's just hubris. It's hubris and insensitivity and not caring about what the consequences of releasing this would be. Thinking that in their minds, weirdly, that this was cool.
That someone would identify with this and go, "Oh, this is awesome."
Oh, that's the representation. And listen, it's not like anyone saying that there's any problem with anything with that kind of imagery, with using it or even using the vernacular. Mm-hmm. But if you're going to do it, be honest about it and don't make it look like a joke or a caricature.
Yeah.
Understand why those things are spoken the way they are. Understand the cultural history behind it. Don't just assume that
white people to understand us.
I'm asking I'm asking for somebody to do a little reading.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I think that's the most interesting thing to me, because I put this on the editorial staff for letting it get all the way to
100%. Like before it even gets to Cebulski, but he's the man in charge. He's the one who greenlights or sunsets all of this stuff.
Yeah, that's what I'm gonna say.
The editorial staff, like before it even gets to him, him rubber stamping this is just beyond the pale. But
what I'm curious is
the staff in between, like I was saying before, the staff in between the writer and the editor in chief. This has to go through how many? You know better than anybody else can. How many hands does this go through before it gets to Cebulski?
Yeah, at least 5 to 6.
Like how many drafts do they? Because this is writing, so this is like there should be scripts. So most likely it's going through several drafts. So you're telling me that people repeatedly saw this dialogue and this time they were like, "Oh man, yeah." So I have one comment. Right there, I think Thor needs to pull his shirt down a little bit faster. Not that Miles is putting on sneakers as Thor or anything like that.
Whoa, hold on. The stars shine upon the realm of the gods, forge mighty battles with his squad. That evil laugh means that Cam should move on. But yes, I've enjoyed this immensely.
What's interesting is this might have flown back in the day.
Yes,
it would have. Absolutely.
90s. If this came out in the 90s, as me, young Cam, 12 years old, I'd be like, "Oh, this is cool."
Yeah, we've learned
even further back than that.
I can see this being like a 90s thing because hip hop was more prevalent. 80s was like, if it was in it, it was like super duper cheesy, but I can see this being in the 90s, so trying to make it kind of cool, Yeah,
this is 90s cheese. I agree. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I take it back.
Also, the 90s was when the sort of hood imagery was kind of really popular in movies, TV, everything. Like, you had a bunch of movies that were designated as that genre, Boys in the Hood, Against the Society, all the ones set in New York. Just a whole cascade of them.
Yeah.
So this probably would have flown in the 90s.
So my last pros before you say your last point. He's got style and he's got flair to boot, but his kicks, he's in hot pursuit. I like to say on air, this has now convinced me and motivated me to write my own comics. I played around with it for a long time, but now I've realized that I've been selling myself short, and I need to dive in because apparently
it's very easy.
I could be a Marvel writer. I can,
I mean, the way this sounds, it's so easy a kindergartner could do it.
Yo, this
that's the way this.
This is actually. Go ahead, Paul. Go ahead, Josh. Make your point so we can move on because we've been on this for too long. It's so ridiculous. This episode is going to be called Hood Thor, by the way. Just to let you guys know.
Oh, it has to be now.
It has to be.
I don't even remember what I was going to say. I'm so intense. That's how bad it is. I don't remember what I was going to say. I'm so incensed by that. This is worse than I thought it was, because we own, most of us, I think me and Cam, we only saw that panel talking about the hood of Asgard, and I think I just stopped reading because there's more stuff to it than that. There's a whole page of dialogue of monologue.
Yeah.
And I just stopped reading. I was like, this is bad. But this is worse than I could have imagined.
You guys got to understand, this is hard for Josh. He is a Thor fan. This guy likes Thor.
Hardcore. Yeah. This is disheartening. And I'm a Miles Morales fan.
I love Miles Morales, and I love Thor too.
This is disheartening. It's
interesting.
I did not think it was possible to be this disappointed in Marvel.
What if to be changed to what the fuck?
What's
so apparently this is the only issue up to now that hasn't been written by a black writer. This writer was Mexican American.
And they got a black writer to do it?
Oh, God.
No. The other three. This one, the fourth one is the one where this is the first time they haven't had a black writer on it.
Oh, okay. I was about to say, man, you just blew my mind once again.
Seriously.
It's
all right, let's move on, man.
Well, I want to do more Hood Thor pros.
No, I think we've reached the quota.
I'm a writer now, D'Angelo. I'm a writer.
You are a writer, but this Thor is not worthy. So we gotta.
Oh, there you go, guys. See,
that's the name of the episode.
That was good. This Thor is not worthy.
that is the name of the episode.
There you go. I like it. Well, at least let's do some type of positivity to wash the sins of the Hood Thor away.
I don't know.
I will say something.
Oh, go ahead.
This is unrelated to Thor Morales. This is about just something that I watched recently that I'd highly recommend. The Northman by Robert Edgers. It's his third film. For those of you who don't know him, he did The Witch, I think, in 2018, and then he returned for Hereditary in Hereditary was 2018, and The Witch was a few years before. But this is his third film. Alexander Skarsgård for most people. Eric Northman. He played a character called Eric Northman on True Blood, and now he's the Northman in Robert Edgers' film. But great Viking movie. For anybody who likes sort of interested in Norse mythology and how that kind of intersected with Viking culture. This is a good example of that, where it's magical realism, not necessarily truly, Thor and Odin are alive, but more so during that time, the belief was so strong that, even every corner of the characters saw their gods. So this was a great movie. Ethan Hawke is in it. They speak old Scandinavian, Old Norse, so it's very legit. So I highly recommend it. Right now, it's on Peacock streaming.
Oh, nice.
But yeah, it was I was surprised. I just randomly watched it because I'm one of those Viking Norse mythology. Like those mythologies, so this was a good one.
Nice, yeah, that's dope. Yeah, I recently finished up Stranger Things. This part 1 of season 4, and that was really, really enjoyable. They turned up the notch on the gore. It's got a little suspense in there, and I think they rounded out a lot of the characters a little bit more. It was fun to kind of see these characters that we've known go through like the your 80s high school treatment, the bullying, the being outsiders and all that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But I also like the twist of what they've done on the story, where they're kind of finally completing things, coming full circle, I should say. Yeah. It gave me shades of like the first season where I was like, I didn't know really what was going on, but they had a lot of good suspense and horror. I think they really kind of got back to that, where they kind of were getting away from that from seasons 2 and 3, which I still enjoy. But yeah, it went more teen drama, less like suspense and gore and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, the cinematography is still just the way they just it feels like the 80s, and I wasn't even old enough to remember, but it looks like it seemed like that's what the 80s and especially in Indiana suburbs would look like, or in LA in the case of season 4.
Yeah, totally. And even I like every shot, like the shoes, the posters, anything in the background, like all the like haircuts, like all of it's so on point. Like in the time that they have, there I'm probably like 7, I think, or 7 or 8. And I have triggered by half of it. I'm like, oh, I remember that, I remember this, remember that. And so yeah, it's been really, really cool. I think that's something lately that I've been really enjoying. Josh, what are you watching these days?
I just like you. I just finished Stranger Things. What else am I watching?
Miss Marvel.
Miss Marvel. Miss Marvel is incredible. That kid is absolutely channeling the character. She there's talk that she read the comics well before she even went for the role. There's a picture of her dressed up as Miss Marvel for Halloween when she's younger. Like, she is really, really, really just soaking this in.
That's awesome.
And you can tell,
Khan, right?
Yeah,
Kamala Khan. Yeah,
I like that character. I like Kamala Khan's character.
Yeah, that's cool. I think it kind of follows the. It seems like all the young blood in the Marvel are all like really enjoying like being part of the. Everyone that's been doing it for the last 10 years, like, all right, I'm over this. Let me just get my check and go home.
Yeah.
All the young kids are like, yo, I'm in a Marvel movie. I'm a superhero. This shit is amazing.
Yeah, like, I grew up watching these movies, and now here I am. My first Marvel Studios movie was 2008.
Yeah.
So there's a whole generation of young actors that weren't acting back then that are acting now.
Crazy.
That's
like,
crazy
this
when
is
you think
insane.
about it.
Yeah, that's crazy.
They literally are closing in on 20 years of films.
Yeah.
In 2028, right?
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So all these kids literally have grown up with all these movies. So like, it's already in them.
And it is their Star Wars, man. Like, for them, these movies are bigger than that. Like, much bigger than the stuff that is still around, but we enjoyed more when we were their ages.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I rather tell my nephew that. I was like, you guys understand what it was like. We had nothing.
Back in
my daughter, the same thing.
Oh yeah,
you got
nothing.
The whole universe of films build up, between 2008 and the time Endgame happens. Yeah. Like, I sat her down in the movie theater and was like, you don't understand what you're about to witness.
You stand on the shoulders of greatness.
Yeah. Like, we suffered through bad Fantastic Four movies.
Oh god.
And Captain America on CBS, and with the plastic shield and the terrible helmet, and Spider-Man on CBS.
Oh,
there were it was just awful. Like, we lucked up with the Hulk, and Bill Bixby just happened to take a shine to the character.
True.
And made 30 years worth of content with the one character, and he just fell in love with it. And you can tell, because even as much as it doesn't follow the books, it became its own thing, and he was able to make. I mean, some of them were terrible, but like the Thor special was terrible. But yeah, what else am I watching? Obviously The Boys, like we talked about. Obi-Wan. Woo! Oh. Obi-Wan has been firing on all cylinders, and I've slowly falling in love with Moses Ingram, the podcast girl.
I saw her first. Gotta fly.
Right.
It's like squirrel.
Can't have them all, D'Angelo. God.
Oh, damn it.
Yeah, Obi-Wan has been firing on all cylinders. It's funny because it's like one episode's bland, one episode's great, one episode's bland, one episode's great.
It is. It does have that seesaw feeling like that. Like you're right. It is like boop, 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 boop. So I suppose we're up for a really good one.
So then, that's right. It's wrapping this week, right?
Yeah, I think this week
so
is the last.
We'll reconvene and give a next little.
And look at Disney having two shows on at the same time. Two major shows on at the same time.
What's the other one?
Ms. Marvel.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
And then I think
they usually stagger them.
Yeah, usually it's like one after another.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they're doing a lot, so I can imagine that they're going to start where they have multiple things on multiple nights, or two things on the same night. Like they're just pumping out more content, and it ain't going to slow down.
Nah, it's not at all.
But yeah, I think that's the roundup of all the things I'm watching right now. Nice,
dude. Yeah, I think there's, like I said, there's a lot of good TV on, and we're all kind of like winding down on some of the certain things. I've been deep in anime and of late. So
lately,
yeah. Just
you say I
gotta catch. Well, my main shows stopped like 6 months ago, so I chilled for a while. And then just recently, like probably 4 or 5 popped up in the last like 3 months. They're all been pretty dope. So check out those. But yeah. So we'll end on a sober note. But rest in power, Tim Sale and Neil Adams passed away in these like past months or so. Tim Sale did the artwork for Heroes on a matte mainstream thing, but he's also really, really instrumental in a lot of books in Marvel and DC. He did a really cool, kind of like a color series where he would do like an iconic character like Hulk, and they'd call it Green, and it would be his type of style, which is very like very blocky and reductivist, and had similar shades of like a Frank Miller, but in this whole totally different way. Like him, Frank Miller, Mike Mignola, they all had like kind of like the same similar style of drawing, but then they all had their own different take on it. And it was really, really dope. So,
and would you say that because he was the Long Halloween, and so would you say that Halloween was his seminal piece?
Yeah, definitely. I would definitely say Long Halloween. That's the one that like, from a comic book fan standpoint, that was probably one of his best things. But he did stuff for Image. He did just tons of different stuff. So, and then Neil Adams, of course, basically the Batman god. He literally has drawn everybody. Now I think about it, but he had the longest run on Batman, right? Like almost 200 plus issues or something like that.
Something like that.
I think it was something like that. He was he was writing Batman. He was doing Batman.
Like, he revolutionized the character. Like pretty much at the same time, if I remember correctly, at the same time that Keaton was playing Batman in the theaters. The Batman that we got in that film is directly influenced by Neil Adams. His that was if I remember correctly, Neil Adams is the one who took it from campy, goofy, I'll get you next time to legit like Batman is breaking people up. He's running up on thugs and like, oh, you think you just rob people? All right, this is what's gonna happen.
Because the Dark Knight Returns was what, early 90s? That would have been
it was early
90s.
Yeah. But it's definitely more in the 80s and the
comic
80s.
Dark Knight Returns.
The comic Dark Knight Returns. Yeah.
Well, one thing that I read during as going through some of his high points, but he helped secure a pension and recognition to Jerry Siegel and Joe Shuster's estates for.
Oh yeah, he was a huge advocate for
rights and artists'
writers. Yeah, artists and writers' rights. He pretty much was at the front line of that fight.
Yeah, so
he made all kinds of brazy threats when he found out that those guys weren't being compensated properly. He made all kinds of wild threats like, yo, I'll walk from all of y'all. You have to treat these guys right. Like, look at what these men created.
It's still a problem now because, look at how much Disney's making off of those characters and and all of that stuff. And those artists and the writers are not getting half.
I mean,
and not even what the screenwriters are getting. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
the screenwriters are definitely getting more than the writers that create. Because I mean, they were showing shot for shot of Thor: Love and Thunder, and then they were showing the pieces that are in the Thor book with Jason Aaron and Issa Rabik. And their like shots and stuff like that. Because again, the studios use the comics as their intellectual property and their like storyboard.
The storyboard, right?
Yeah. One of the things they could do is, and they're not going to do it because they have to pay them, but I don't understand why there's not a Marvel the characters based on created like it used to be. Like with DC, you would always see Siegel's name in there, like it's DC characters, but also Siegel. It wasn't just this are created by DC, based on DC characters. They put a name behind it so that you knew it was Joel Siegel, you know, like all these people like this. So I think even that would go a long way. And I can't recall if I saw that in the credits, but I don't recall seeing specific Marvel writers' names who, other than Stan Lee.
It's quick, but yeah, they're there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, no, but I mean, I think that's the thing, though. I don't know
if that's been from the beginning, but I know that they definitely.
Yeah.
As long as they're there, you know.
I mean, I bet you Stan made more money from just being on all these cameos.
The pay scale the pay scale for Stan for being A in the movie, B
speaking
from his executive producer credits, which he's an executive producer on all of the films.
That was
every last one.
Mia culpa.
Yeah. Did you guys ever see what's the name of the stupid show? Bob Kirkman's
Comic Books Revealed or whatever.
Yeah, Comic Books Revealed, I think it's called. I feel like that's not the title, but
I know what you're talking about, but I never watched that. Yeah,
it's actually really good.
It's actually a really good, really well produced series with good interviews and everything. But the one that broke my heart was the one where whoever's interviewing Stan asks him outright whether or not he actually he actually stole ideas from like if there's any credence to the rumor that he stole ideas from Jack Kirby. I gotta tell you, he's a bad liar. It broke my heart. Like I nearly cried. It broke my heart because he wasn't able to sell the lie. And I'd never seen an interview where someone asked him flat out, and he he stopped for a second. He was like, "No, I've never heard that." I'm like, "Oh, you are a liar! Oh, you're lying!"
It's like
it hurt my soul because I've seen him deny it before, but I've never seen him be bad at it.
Yeah. Well, and also I think like I read the interview where before Kirby died, he just was flaming like Stan for like I don't know, like 7 or 8
Which
pages.
one? From what I understand, there's several.
Yeah, his last one was probably the best, like most detailed one. Like he was going off. Like he was like, "Yo, I basically created all this shit." But to Kirkman's credit, what I liked about the series was, and I wish I think it's available on Amazon if you could buy it or something like that. I wish it was on one of the streaming services.
You can watch it on YouTube at this point. You don't have to pay for it on Amazon.
But the milestone episode was really well done.
Yes, excellent.
That was really good from top to bottom, talking to everybody, even the downfall of it to the rise of it, the downfall of it to the rise again, and the inception
Big
of why.
McDuffie shout out.
Yeah, it was really well done.
He'd already passed it.
Yeah.
Exactly. It was still pretty recent, so they talked to his wife. They talked to Priest. They talked to all of those guys, and it's really that segment of the episode is really, really sad. Like you felt McDuffie's passing. If you didn't feel it before, you felt it when those guys talked about it. Like they really just like lauded him as like, "Yo, this dude was going places. He was going to take us with him," and just
Yeah, and he was doing he was the bulk of the animated stuff. Like he was a big. Is after everyone that's what they talk about too. They talk about how Milestone was rising, it started to fall, and when it was kind of done, that's when someone came in about like, "Hey, you want to do a cartoon series with one of your characters?" And he's like, "Oh, we'll just do Static." That takes off for a whole other generation. And that led him to get into other animation stuff at DC, and that's what passed. And so
he was going to be, because I think Tucker took over after he passed away, right? James Tucker. And
so.
but he was kind of gonna be the guy. He was gonna be like the head executive producer. We would have Dwayne McDuffie doing Young Justice right now, no question.
Well,
It wouldn't be Sam Register wouldn't be the one EPing it.
But if you think about it, Dwayne McDuffie's legacy is a through line from Justice League, other than obviously his milestone work, but in DC, through line between Justice League Unlimited through the entire DC animated universe, film universe, to Young Justice. Like all of the story structure, the way that these characters come together seamlessly, all of that was sort of foundation laid by the work of Dwayne McDuffie and
Absolutely.
For Justice, because if you look at Justice League Unlimited, it is straight up the foundation for all of the subsequent DC animated films that include more than one character, and even the ones that include just one character. Like it's all McDuffie-esque. Like they haven't even to this day they haven't switched that formula. I mean, it's crazy to think about how though that DC run was just like, I watched Darkseid kill Turpin on TV.
God.
Like I'll never get over that. Speaking of Stan Lee, because you remember that was they did like a funeral for Turpin, and like certain people were there, you know.
Yeah.
And it was obvious who they were, but they weren't. They never said their names, because Turpin, I think, was based on somebody, I can't remember who.
I think it's based on Kirby.
Was it? It was Kirby, right? It was.
I think
Kirby.
It was.
Yeah.
I might be wrong, but I think he was.
It was Kirby. No, I think you're right. I think Turpin was based on Kirby. Yeah. But I'll never forget that, because I remember my jaw was like this.
Same here. I sat there watching the episode and I was just like, whatever, you know, it'll be another Superman episode. Oh, he's dead. Is he not coming back? He's gone.
Just the way that Darkseid did it, and with Ironside as the voiceover,
which made it even better. The gravitas makes it better. But no, you're right. I think folks like McDuffie and Neil Adams, like they're the ones that kind of like this. They laid down a lot of the groundwork of all the stuff that people are watching now, which is really interesting. And
luminaries, man.
Yeah, I think I actually do agree too. It's like there's got to be something in some way where I mean, besides what most of them have been doing is just making their own IP and just kind of doing their own thing. But you're right. When you have like, when they introduced Korean Hulk and Lady Wolverine and, say with Miles Morales, like all these characters that have been coming over the next 5 to 10 years, they were all written by writers from 10 years ago. Yeah, those stories will make it into the TV, into the big screen. And even the guys that did Miss Marvel, the first run, I think they're adapting the first 12 issues, I think, of the issue of Miss Marvel into the show. Or 6 or 12, something like that.
That's all G. Willow Wilson, right?
Yeah, and then I forgot who the artist is.
That's where they can learn. Where I think guys like Garth Ennis do stand out amongst the masses, is because with The Boys now, Garth Ennis is probably making a lot because he probably has a deal with Amazon.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
And it's the same with Robert Kirkman. Like, it's like those writers understand from jump. Like, I'm doing corporate art for Marvel and DC. Well, Garth Ennis obviously got upset, but at the same time, it didn't deter him from creating, even if it was a giant, FU to Marvel and DC. It's still now something so profitable that people forget its origins started with him being disgruntled at the top, the Twin Towers. Like,
totally. And I think also too, one of those things where, you got, these people like Kirkman is a great example, right? He actually, it was funny because I went back and reread his, I think he did a Marvel team up book. He's doing like basically an anthology series for a while. And then from there, I think he did Battle Pope was his first Image book before he did Walking Dead. And then he did Walking Dead. Walking Dead was like went crazy. Then to get out of the Walking Dead like mist that he was in, he created Invincible, which he just wanted. I just want to do a straight up superhero story with like suits and tights and and so these writers, went on and made their own creations, which now have gotten to TV shows and movies and that kind of stuff. Mark Millar is another good example, and so it is interesting where like Ed Brubaker, who did or the Winter Soldier, like he has a bunch of IP stuff that he's been doing on Image that's like great, doing really, really well. So it's not like he's not quote unquote hurting for money, but it is sad that, he gets like some pennies for like creating literally the bulk of, of like 2.5 movies. And they're just like, yo, man, thanks for those stories. But we know we paid you to write those stories. So that's cool. And there are stuff. Yep.
And like, that's why, publishers protect novelists a lot nowadays.
Yeah.
A lot better when and then novelists. So, for example, I thought it was very smart for George R. R. Martin to hold out as long as he did for giving over the rights, or not giving over rights, but negotiating the rights for Game of Thrones, because he had been approached for that since the around the 90s when it first was released, but he was determined not to, because he's like, there's no way you can make a movie out of this story. Like, there's no way you can make a movie out of this story.
And the first book was like late 90s?
No, the first book was 1994, if I'm not mistaken. It was early 90s. Yes. That's why I said, like,
he didn't want it to be a hatchet job, whoever got a hold of it. Even if they did do a television series, from what I remember.
1994, right. What would that look like? Oh, boy.
Ooh. Don't even imagine it. It might break your heart.
It would be a Fantastic Four movie.
Exactly.
Maybe it was early 2000s, and we get like a kind of like a Xena Hercules level of production.
It would be a little better, but it would be terrible. Now, I think he said that Benioff and Weissman, he had one question for them. He told them, he said, read the book and read the books. And I got one question for you. Who is Jon Snow's mother? And if they can answer that, he would start talking. He would be willing to.
And I don't think the fourth book was out yet, if I remember correctly.
Oh,
no.
So they had less to go on. They had even less to go on than we do.
Wow.
Yeah, there was only the first 3.
Yeah.
And the fourth book, and the 4th and 5th were forthcoming. But they hadn't been published yet, because the 4th and 5th book didn't release until after the second. There were 2 seasons of Game of Thrones by the time the 4th and 5th book had been published and released.
Yeah.
So they had nothing to go on.
Yeah, but they answered correctly, and now the rest was
now they're filthy rich, and
But yeah. I mean, I think that's the most interesting part now, because I mean that's kind of the thing that's facing all creators now, where it's like a good example recently is X-Men have they call it the Hellfire Gala or whatever, and then it's like they hired artists to create Met Gala type of gowns for all the X-Men mutant characters, which again, pretty dope. And at least now, before back in the day, it would have just been written like, oh, we're going to do a book called the Hellfire Gala, and everyone's going to have their own unique images, dresses and gowns, and So then the artist would have to design those out and then use those designs into the book. But now they're actually like hiring an artist to make those designs first. And then actually have an artist, write, draw them in the book. Which now, dope. That's what it should be. But before,
they got that Disney money now.
Yep.
Like that Disney money can do wonderful things.
But also, I mean, the resurgence that the book has had. I mean, it's unparalleled how good that book, how good that resurgence, good that soft reboot that they did was.
Yeah, that cleanup was massive. The cleanup was massive.
Cleaned up a ton of stuff.
But I like that they did that.
I will tell you, I was super resistant. I was like, yo, it was going somewhere good when, what's his name? Ferguson? Rosenberg, thank you. When Rosenberg was writing it, like he tied off all the loose ends.
Yeah,
I'm talking about like decades worth of nonsense that he just tied off all those loose ends. And, Cyclops was dead, brought back Cyclops in probably the most intelligent way you could bring back. As many times as these characters die and come back, he brought back Cyclops in probably the most intelligent way you could.
Yeah, pretty good.
After allowing him to be killed off.
No, but I think that's, so I would say, that would be one thing I like that the new X-Men run has given there's a lot of books, so there's a lot more artists, which is awesome. And you get to see more artists and mixing it up. Like Marvel of lately has been very heavy on the foreign artists, but I've been seeing a lot more mix of like American artists and like European and Asian artists as well. And then same thing with the writers too. They're pretty like really mixing it up. Some good, some bad. But I think going back to like kind of like those creators' rights, I think a lot of creators are being a lot more smarter now, where they're just like, all right, we'll write for this character, but I'm not going to give you any of my new shit.
And that's
a better way to do it.
That's what they've learned from the pioneers, is that you can't give these companies your creme de la creme. You can't give them the golden egg. You have to give them something that will get you paid and get them to ask you to come back, because you know. But remember that it's corporate art. Like you after a certain point, it is no longer yours.
Yeah, 100%. Actually, to that point, Neil Adams actually co-created Jon Stewart for Green Lantern.
Yes.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. But yeah, you're right. I think that's like the biggest lesson for a lot of the creators now, especially like even when like they did Logan and they kind of credited Lin Wayne is his last name for that created Wolverine back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
And so they I think you're right. They've been getting a little bit better at the very least. Like, you know, in animation, you do it all the time. Like at the end of Young Justice, you see a nice long list of who created what character.
Yep.
Yeah, awesome. And so,
I think that's why I wish that Griveau had created Blue Marvel outside of Marvel.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
I agree.
Yeah. I really wish that he had taken that to like Image or somewhere, some independent where he retained all the rights, because they basically shelved that character, ain't really doing much with him, and I don't think they have any intent to bring him into the live action, which honestly, if you were really true, if they were serious about diversity, and I get the point of going to Black Panther first because of name recognition, but Blue Marvel, I think, is more of a serious kind of like, okay, we're exploring the idea of what it means to be a Black superhero.
Yeah, and they might shock.
Yeah, Blue Marvel's a layup. Blue Marvel's a layup.
Such a layup.
Well, they better watch out, because that surprise is going to be spoiled by The Boys. And this is this is our extra show. That's going to be spoiled by The Boys. And it's going to loosen its effect if they don't jump on top of that. Because I think one of the best moments in that comic book was when it's revealed that this super strong hero, this champion, is a Black man.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I just hope that somebody over there is like, we need to hop on this. It's a new character. He's an original character. He's Black. And he's got a dope origin story. And it can fold really well into stuff that they've already been building.
Yeah. And he doesn't have electricity powers. Thank God.
Exactly. Just build it from the Falcon and Winter Soldier. Okay, there you go. You've established it right there. So if they did that to him, who is just equivalent to Captain America, imagine what they did to the Black man who was equivalent to Thor. What was it? Ross says to Tony, or no, it's to Cap. He says, "Can you tell me where Thor and Hulk are?" Now, what you think the government would do to me if I lost 2 megaton nukes? So you got a Black megaton nuke. You better release them.
Yeah. No, I think that's right. I think it's one of those things where that's one of those characters I definitely want to come. I'm definitely curious to see if and how they do it. But I laugh because I'm in another couple other geek groups. And there's always the guys like, oh man, we gotta rate next story. Da da da. I'm like, nah, man, just rate your own story, dude. It's
do your own thing.
Yeah, do your own thing. Write the X-Men stuff. It's as good exercises for yourself to get better at writing and that kind of stuff and formulating your stories. But just do your own joints, because it's not I got this great X-Men idea. Yo, make it your idea.
Right, because your great idea for X-Men, even if it goes all the way, you're going to get buried in that, under that. After a certain period, you're buried underneath all that. I know, but you'll have a nice check. You have some money and, some connections.
And some name recognition.
Some name recognition. But if you trying to establish yourself as an author and have an IP that does work for you and you largely more than a company,
Yeah,
that's why I don't like fan fiction.
Yeah, it's different. It's different between a job and a legacy. You're right. Like that fan fiction. Like, and true, the one out of 100,000 that started with fan fiction and went into their own thing, that's dope. But you're right. Other than that, besides it being just an exercise to get get the juices flowing, it really doesn't really lead you much of anywhere.
If there's a kid out there listening to this, absolutely, just make your own joint. Like it's good practice, like Cam was saying, to use these characters that and love as practice. But it's practice. Don't put your heart and soul into other people's stuff. Make your own. If you can make a good X-Men story, you can definitely make your own good story.
Yeah. And you can tell a story that is just as fantastical and just as groundbreaking and all of the things. In fact, you can probably do something. You're in a unique position to do something uniquely different because you know what's already in existence. So I'd say, like Josh said, focus on that. Don't try to create, because eventually you have to deal with that crushing reality that it ain't yours.
That it belongs to someone else, and they get all of the dough for it.
You could have told the best version of their story, and there have been some people that have done that. I'm looking at you, Jordan Lucas, Ivan Kershner, Empire Strikes Back, but we ain't gonna go there. But but at the end of the day, when people look back and they say Star Wars, do they mention Ivan Kershner's name?
Nope.
Even though he gave us the best Star Wars film to this date.
Yeah, unless you know who Irvin Kershner is, and most people don't.
Irvin. I keep calling him Ivan. I've always done that. I've always called him Ivan. It is Irvin. Irvin Kershner, and may he rest well.
This has been the Blerdlines special education series of inspirational talk. Thank you for coming to our talk. Because Blerdlines is for the kids. Well, to wrap this up, let's get your guys' final words. We'll start with D'Angelo first.
I think my final word is, we need a new almighty Thor Morales, if that's where they're going to go. I want writers to get their just due. And I want them to know the best thing you can do is to create your own stuff. Write your own stuff.
Josh?
My final word is to reiterate my disappointment in just the full blown. In 2022, you could not have told me that we would still be having when it was the 70s and that stuff was passable somehow. You could make a Black Panther, just the origin of Black Panther alone is kind of Shang-Chi, super racist. It just was what it was. But, we accepted it because that was the standard for the time. You cannot tell me that in 2022, the 6 or 7 people that stuff passed through, as far as the Miles Morales Thor thing is concerned, you can't tell me that 6 or 7 people read that thing and said, "This is awesome." I am profoundly disappointed in my beloved Marvel. I cannot express how disappointed I am that I'm saying the words. They actually released something racist, thoroughly racist. It's not even veiled.
It's a great moment for me. I get to listen to Josh talk about Marvel disappointing him.
I mean, and you got to work hard.
You do.
I have placed Marvel on a pedestal. I mean, I stopped reading for a while once they my disdain at how they handled the Onslaught saga is legendary. And I got yanked back into Civil War. So between Onslaught and Civil War, I just gave up on Marvel. But not for anything along these lines, not for anything this grandiose.
Yeah, this is egregious, and it feels
this
like
is absolutely
like it was unnecessary, like totally unnecessary.
Yeah, by the fade of Odin.
It makes my stomach hurt when you say that. Like that's even something that somebody wrote.
So to be fair, I have not confirmed that is something that someone wrote, but someone made a joke about that and just caught on. But it's still pretty funny.
But the dialogue is so in line with that even if
it is
real,
you can hear him
pick out several more that is the same, similar to that.
100%.
Yeah, 100%. I will be quasi positive. I went to the Brooklyn Comic Book Festival a couple weeks back, and it was not great, but the two things that I take away from it that were positive. One, I do love seeing black and brown cosplayers. I thought that was awesome.
They rolled very deep.
They were rolling deep, and they were detailed, and I saw a cosplay Naomi Nagata out there. I was like, okay, girl. I see you got the hair and everything, and the fake tattoo on the neck. I was like, all right, dope.
And that says a lot about her character to cosplay for the Expanse.
Yeah, It's the first time I ever seen that, so I was dope. There's a lot of Demon Slayers, a lot of Naruto, and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, I would say it wasn't
runway.
Yeah, they had a whole cosplay runway. It was definitely more about the cosplaying than it was about the comics and everything else. The art was very lackluster, which was very disappointing. But as a positive thing, it was cool to see a lot of black and brown people really embracing geek culture.
That's cool.
Like I said, cosplaying was really, really cool. It was all love and everyone's chill. So it was pretty dope.
But all in all, was it worth the money that was spent?
Absolutely not. I wish it was a little bit more organized. I wish they had a better caliber of artists that would showcase. It seemed like they let anybody in.
Where was it held?
And Bushwick, I want to say.
Yeah, it was Bushwick on the border of Williamsburg.
Or is it a place that I might know? A venue I might know?
Nah, it was like one of those converted warehouses type of thing.
Oh, okay. And
so
just like a bare event space.
And it was a full weekend, or just one day?
Saturday and Sunday.
Yeah,
okay.
But the biggest stars like Phil Lamar was there. And,
that's not bad. I wouldn't have mind meeting Phil Lamar.
Yeah, and it probably would have been a good thing because it wasn't too crazy.
Yeah,
but yeah, I think if they put a little bit extra time in, especially on the caliber of the booths, especially when it comes to because they kind of melded Artist Alley and the regular booths together. And honestly, you couldn't really tell. It looked like all Artist Alley, like bad Artist Alley.
That's the one thing I like about NY Comic Con is how they've you have the writers here and you have the artists here. So once you leave one, you can go talk to the other, but the traffic is not disrupting, and you have your people that like one, they're able to go to that, and the ones that like the other. Because I've spent most of my time in the writing section, obviously, with the writers. But my last question about the Comic Con was this which version of this? Is this the first, second, third, or has it just been going on for 5-10 years?
Nah, I think this is like a second or third or something.
Second or third, yeah.
Okay, so that makes sense that they still figuring out the organization of it and all that stuff. But not to give them making an excuse, because I don't make no excuse for other human beings.
It was good for what it was. Cam came away with a Romulan ale flask, which I thought was hilarious.
That's really cool. That picture you sent, that's dope.
Yep.
I'm disappointed with no Rock the Geno mugs. Like, how do you not have Rock the Geno mugs, Josh? How is that possible?
Hey man, I'm not the vendors. I cannot speak. I don't know, but the one guy that he did buy that flask from was cool. Like, he had a couple of cool things, some Starfleet insignias, I think a couple of Romulan and Klingon insignias, like some etched glass art kind of deal. It was cool stuff. But the other 90% of the 99% of the vendors that were there, it was bad. It was really bad. It was not, again, as Cam said, it was not worth the price of admission at all.
You know what would be cool is if somebody did like a whole, did like a DS9 promenade, type of installation at like a Comic-Con. So and put like a Klingon bar in there, so you can order like the fake. You can order Arachnagino, but what's the worm maggot looking food that they love?
Oh yeah. Ugh.
What is it called again?
They make it look
gak. Yeah, I was gonna call it muck, but it's gak. Yeah.
It is a great job. It always looked disgusting to me. I was like, ugh.
That's how you know I've watched thousands of hours of Star Trek, because I know Klingon food.
Hey man, I would eat Klingon food. I would love to go on vacation on the Klingon homeworld. That'd be, to me, that's fun.
D'Angelo getting up every morning, getting hit with paint sticks.
Yeah.
Hilarious. But yeah, you know what? Thanks, fellas, for rocking out. You know, I think you got stuck on Thor Morales for a little while. It really hit.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't touch the heartstrings, man. It's not acceptable.
I didn't know it went as deep as it did, which is what was kind of.
Neither did I.
I'm glad we pulled it up. Because you would have been a little bit ill-informed. Now we know.
Yeah, we would have done glossed over it. All kinds of.
I thought it was like, oh, this is a bad poster. We can keep it moving, and then it's like.
That's what I thought. Yeah. I just thought it was just a stupid idea, but then it just kind of pulled back and became something totally more sinister.
Yikes, people! What's going on over there, Spelsky? Killing me.
This makes his faux pas with the Japanese thing way worse.
Yeah, we'll see if anything comes from it. But yeah, we'll wrap it up, and once again, thanks for listening. This is Blerdlines, and we are out.
Hasta la mañana.